Probably the biggest difference between a real game developer and someone who just does it for fun isn't their skill. It isn't the fact that they've previously released like 5 games already and have like grossed over $100,000 or anything. No, the real difference lies in their mindset. And this is also what will enable you, if you adopt this mindset, to work much more, to work longer, and also just to not give up as much. Something I see a lot, especially with you guys, when I go to some local game dev meetup, is you don't think like a game developer. And that's why I want to talk a bit more in this video about how you, and only you really, are self-sabotaging yourself to being a better game developer. And it all lies in the mindset you have. Now, you're probably thinking, what are you saying? What's the mindset? I'm just making games. But there's a very big difference between someone who was, let's say you are a software developer at a regular company who makes games on the side. And if people ask you, oh, what are you? You usually answer, oh, I'm a software developer. It seems logical, right? But that's a wrong approach to do if you want to like eventually end up as a full-time game developer. What you need to do is to change your identity now already and see yourself as an actual game developer. Even if you're just making games on the side, if you feel like you want to become a game developer, you need to identify as one. So everything you do in your life will be from this mindset of, okay, I am a real game developer, even if it's not like you don't feel like you are. Just go with it, act like you are an actual game developer, and you'll notice that just there's no science behind it, but it's just something that I've been noticing a lot. And also, if you go to a game dev convention and you ask like someone, oh, what are you doing? They always say also, I'm a game developer. That's how they ended up at that convention, showcasing their game. They usually aren't gonna be like, hey, yeah, I'm actually someone who does insurance maybe, and like made a game on the side. They'll just be, I'm a game developer. And this mindset shift will give you a few advantages. The first one is you mentally will be able to work better and more efficient, because suddenly you won't be slacking as much anymore if you really get this mindset drilled in that, hey, I am a game developer. Because, okay, if you're doing games on the side and you're just a software engineer during the day, making games is your little hobby and it's like a side project, but you don't take it as serious. If you see yourself as an actual game developer or game designer or whatever, suddenly everything you do has so much more purpose. You're gonna be reading books in your free time, but instead of reading like regular books or maybe reading about how to program, you're gonna read about game design, or you're gonna read a biography maybe of some other game designer and how they did life. This extends to pretty much everything. If you're struggling right now a lot with the fact that, hey, I'm not really making that much progress. I just come home and I like put on some YouTube video, like some summoning salt video or whatever, and I just watch it, but I can't seem to get the energy. That's because your mindset is wrong. It seems very dumb, but trust me on this one, really. If you look in the mirror and you're like, hey, I'm a game developer now, and you act like one, do you think a real game developer is going to sit there and waste like an entire evening like watching YouTube videos, or not really working on their game, not really looking at improving, learning more things and honing their craft? There's a lot of extra things you can do that aren't working exactly. If they're going to take a shower, they're thinking about their game mechanics. They're thinking about how can we improve this certain problem. They're thinking about maybe we're stuck on a mechanic. And everything they do in life is with this purpose, is with this goal of game development. Also, you'll treat yourself and your projects with more respect instead of it being like, oh, it's a hobby project, I don't really care about it that much. You should care about it. It's your primary project as a game designer or game developer. It should be perfect. Or at least you should put the right amount of effort into it. It's not like, oh, it's a hobby project, I don't really care about like how clean the code is. A game developer would actually care, and they would put in that extra little bit of time to just polish it, make sure that it's something that can scale in the long run. Don't just think about, oh, I don't really want to do it right now, even though it will give them like a lot of technical debt in the future. But they understand that, hey, this is my job, I need to do this. You'll also just treat yourself more like a professional. You're suddenly gonna treat your hours more like, hey, I actually need to do this. Whenever you work on something, you'll be like, okay, this is my job now. That's how you should see it. You shouldn't see making games as your like hobby project if you really have the mindset of I want to go pro at some point. You should treat it, even though it is a hobby in reality, treat it as if it's as serious as possible, as if you're actually planning on making money with your first project already. Because you should. It probably won't happen, but you should do everything in your power to already try marketing, to already try like testing out your game, doing some early play tests and things like that. Because that's, again, what a game designer would do. You need to think to yourself, The reason that I haven't really made that much of games yet, or like not that many prototypes, I'm speaking to most of the audience. If you have actually made games already, fine. But the reason that you're just stuck watching these videos is because you see game development not as your primary objective. You're not a game developer, that's not your mindset. And you really need to shift this and just be like, I'm a game developer now, even if you have another job. That's really, I'm gonna keep repeating that throughout the video really, that this mindset is the key to success. This mindset will allow you to work harder. You're gonna look like a clown, I know that. You're probably saying that as well. It's like, but why would I say that? I am not a game developer. But I speak from experience. I called myself a game developer, even when in reality I was a data center architect at my old job. But still, I carried myself with the purpose and the idea of a game developer. I remember vividly when I quit my job as that data center architect, my parents were like, what are you gonna do now? You have no job. And I'm like, no, I'm a game developer. I had full conviction by then, even though, yeah, in reality, they thought I was retarded, that I just like made the biggest mistake of my life and was squandering away my future. But still, I persisted in saying and having that conviction that I am a game developer. And that is what carried me through all the doubt. When I went to other events and I went networking with game developers who had actual credentials, I didn't act like I wasn't a game developer. I just felt like, hey, I'm gonna be just like you. I'm also a game developer. I'm also making games. I can program, sure. What is it that you can do that I can't do as well? Maybe you're better, but we have the same skills and I'm gonna outcompete you. I always have this little bit of aggression. I don't know. I feel like it's just a meeting, honestly, but I always aim at just being better than the others in whatever business it is, because that's the mindset as well that you have as a game developer. If you do this as your real job, you will see that sometimes you need that little bit of anger expression as well, just to make sure that you can beat the competition. And sure, as long as you haven't really released the game yet, you will look like a fool. You're kind of giving yourself like reverse imposter syndrome. Whereas with regular imposter syndrome, you have the skills, but you feel like you don't. Here, you don't fully have the skills yet, but by acting like you actually are able to do it, you're just gonna be better at improving as a game developer and moving throughout like this as a career. I have one more example of the very difference a good mindset can make. And that is, for example, in dealing with failure. If you fail as, you know, making games as your hobby and you bring out your game after like 2 years of work because you were like, hey, I only have a few hours, and it gets like 3 downloads. You're gonna be devastated and you're gonna be like, screw this, it's not worth it at all. But if you build that mindset of, okay, I'm a game developer, you're gonna be like, okay, sure, I have just learned all of these things from releasing that game and I'm not gonna stop. I'm gonna regroup, I'm gonna find a new game, I'm gonna scope down maybe, I'm gonna change the genre, change like something, maybe look more into getting actual artists instead of doing it myself. And I'm just gonna try again. Because you understand as a game developer that that's part of the process, that it's not gonna be an overnight success. You're going to be spending 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 games before you even like break even on your game. But you go into that fully prepared because you have been spending more time looking up like how do game developers work. You've been thinking and you've been actually like planning your games and like your timelines, and you're not just going into your game and be like, I'll figure out whatever mechanic I'm making today. Instead of working structured, working with a system and actually making progress day by day. Sometimes people are like, hey, but I have no skills, so I will never be able to make a game. And I'm also a bit of a gym bro, so hear me out on this like comparison. But it's the same as being like, hey, I can't go to the gym because I can't bench press 100 kilograms. When someone says that, I'm like, yeah, of course you can't. You can't even bench just a bar. Why don't you just start like low and build yourself up? And there are like 2 kinds of people who go to the gym generally. Like, I'm very simplifying, but it's like, oh, the people who just sign up and who go to the elliptical, or they like run on the treadmill for a bit and then they go home again, or maybe they do like some machine. Or you have the people who take it serious, who are like, oh, let me get some plan, like even just find one online, who learn about things such as progressive overload. Like every time they go to the gym, they learn more and more, and they see themselves, if you want to do this good, that's what I did. See yourself as an athlete, see yourself as a bodybuilder or whatever fits with your goal. Find yourself some personality to be like, this is going to be me now, and everything I do, whether it's like researching how I should bench press with like perfect form, or it's researching how do I improve my code or how do I improve my marketing, should be done with that mindset of I am here and I am going to commit to this for like a longer period of time, not just one project, not just like hitting 100 kg on the bench or releasing a game with 100,000 in revenue, but actually building up the stages to that and learning more and more about how to get there. And I end these videos this way as well. You can go back to like our older videos and you'll see this as well. I end these videos saying that, hey, we're game developers. We've been making our own game, or we've even finished our own game at this point. We're working on our next game, which you can wishlist down below if you want. And we make these videos aimed at game developers. We've been saying that for more than a year at this point, when we were all still working full-time at other jobs, but we always had that mindset. So if you're new here and you're interested in general game dev content, learning about all of our mistakes, learning about what I have been learning throughout my own journey as a game developer, or just like learning about the games we're making, then be sure to head down below and subscribe, as it really helps us out, and you get these videos 3 times a week. That's all I really had to say. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!